felt so bad because we didn't even have money for a shrimp basket, which is
Right.
I mean, we had no money, nothing.
That's true.
Welcome to Live Your Dreams podcast, where success leaves clues and someone has your answer. I'm here joined with my lovely now co-host, Mrs. Tia McKissick, my wife of 27 years. And today we're here talking about how to maintain a healthy marriage. So I know we're going to have somebody's answers today. I know the last 27 years that has always been easy. I know when we got started, it was really hard. And before we get into it, let's talk about how we started, because I know that was pretty intense. I mean, you talk about living your dreams. We were really living dreams. I remember being downtown. You were, before we got married, working at the Department of Agriculture, and I would come there, sit on the bench, and I remember it like yesterday, just dreaming. And I would, do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
And we would be dreaming like, this is how our life, and this was 27 years ago, probably 28 years ago now. We would talk about that. Let me test you. What's some of the dreams we said we would do or have?
Well, when he first came to my job, and we were sitting there on lunch hour, and we were talking about our dreams, our future together. And the first thing he said is, when we get married, you're going to be able to stay home and take care of all our kids.
Yeah, and again, I was dreaming, man, and I didn't see that much modeled, but my grandfather took care of my grandmother. And I don't mean take care of, but, because now, women are such a strong part. But he really loved my grandmother, my mother's father. And, I mean, he worked like 3 jobs to take care of the family. He had 8 or 9 daughters, my mother being one of them. And I really loved that, man. I looked up to that. And I that was one of the dreams I really had. I really thought success for me, and I'm just speaking for me, was having my wife not have to work outside the house. I thought that was a part of living my dreams, and it came true. 28 years ago, it came true. What else was some of the things we talked about?
Well, when we talked about that, I'm a triplet, by the way. And I would tell my sisters, hey, I met this nice guy, and we're getting married, and, he's going to allow me to stay home and raise our kids. And they said, whatever. They didn't believe it at first. And I said, well, yes, we are. I believed in the dream.
Yeah, and it was kind of radical for you to move out because, I know your parents were, I got nothing but love for the Shorts. They really did a good job raising you all. And I think that, you came from a very structured, strict background. And for you to move out was kind of radical. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, when I first told my parents and my sisters that I was moving out, my mother said, moving out, getting married. And, they were really upset at first. And they came to and they told us, well, we're going to take you all to marriage counseling and talk to our preacher at the time. And we went through marriage counseling and we got through it. And after that, we had our wedding consisted of about 300 people.
Yeah, it was a huge
and
wedding.
Everybody came through. They helped us with everything. We had a really nice wedding.
Yeah, it was a storybook wedding. I was shocked.
And at that time, nobody was getting married.
Yeah, I was shocked.
And we were young. We was only 20 years old. And, we had our first car. It was a Hyundai Elantra.
Yeah, I remember
and we got that. And he was in the military, so we didn't date long. We dated about 5 months. But in that 5 months, he was in the military. So when he came back in August, he left in May. He came back in August. We got married in October the 8th. And by the way, before we got married, he took me over to all his family house and introduced me to everybody and told everybody, hey, I'm getting married. I meet my fiance Tia. But by the way, I didn't tell my parents just yet that we were going to get married. And when I told them, they were very, very upset. But then we went through counseling. And everything worked out.
Yeah, it did. And that's talking about living your dreams. And I think having someone believing in you, because I hit the lottery when I married you. You came down some levels. I hit the lottery too. You came down some levels, because I remember our first place, we had a 1-bedroom. And to me, that was success. I had a nice vehicle. a 1 bedroom apartment, and I never forget. Do you remember that day? I remember it like yesterday. It was a hurtful day for me, where you were so frustrated because I mean you wasn't getting your head done or anything. We didn't have anything, and I remember you took I think it was like $5 or something. I can't remember, but you went and bought a shrimp basket. You said, "I'm getting me a shrimp basket." It seems so trivial now, but I felt so bad because we didn't even have money for a shrimp basket, which is
Right.
I mean we had no money, none.
That's true.
We had none. So,
And I came from a strict background, so we ate at home. We prepared our meals. We didn't eat out. There was no McDonald's. There was no place like that unless you had on a roll. We went out to eat. So when I got married, it was like, oh wow, I had freedom. I can eat out now. And I came to him and I said, all I want is a shrimp basket. And he said, no, we got to save our money, because he was more, frugal and into trying to save that money so we can pay our bills and everything. And I wanted a shrimp basket, and I was so frustrated because I couldn't get that shrimp.
yeah, but so how did you stick in there? Because again, somebody, and again, I wouldn't say it was my dream; it was our dream. But how did you stick in there with just a belief that okay, one day this thing would turn around? Because we had some dark days where it didn't look like it would turn around. How did you stick in there?
Well, I believed in the marriage, and I believed in you. You were a hard worker. You worked at Walmart at night.
Mm-hmm.
You worked at Bed Bath. You worked at different companies, and you would do whatever it took to take care of your family.
Yeah, and I was in the military and in school.
And it's
I mean, I don't even know when I slept. And I think even before we met, I never forget when I saw your picture. I said, "Man, that's gonna be my wife." I mean, that was just a dream. I was just calling those things that be not as though they were. I said, "That's gonna be my wife." And I think when you were trying to contact me, that was before cell phones. You couldn't even get in touch with me because I believe that it was at the time. I was always at work. I was never home because that was before cell phones where you get in touch with people. You couldn't even get in touch with me because I was always at work. And luckily we were able to connect, and everything took place. So through some of the hard times, because we had a lot of them. Again, let's get to the root. How do you stick in there when it gets rough and it gets tough? Because you see people. Because I really believe that you and I disagree probably more than anyone. But we stick in there. How do you stay, and how do you stick in there, even though sometimes we disagree or whatever it may be?
Well, the first thing you have to do is pray. As a couple, you have to pray about it and communicate. Just communicate with each other and believe in the marriage.
Yeah, one thing that when you think about that, I know for me, one thing that you were very good at, even when we didn't have much, like that day with the shrimp basket that I remember, like it was yesterday. It was a painful day. It was never a point where you gave me a lot of, I wouldn't say attitude, but it was a lot of pushback or a lot of, or when you say drama or just yeah, 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 yeah. It was never like nitpicking on me.
Right.
I never felt like you nitpicked on me. You would just, I mean, I don't know if you would just, if you would say, hey, you would just endure some of the hard times we went through. But I never felt pressured, or I never felt as though you would nitpick or call me names or say you're lazy or some of the things that's hurtful. Because sometimes when you're going through and you're trying to figure your way out through this thing we call life and try to live your dreams, you want somewhere where you feel safe, where you have to come somewhere where you're encouraged. When my mom passed away, that was probably one of the hardest things for me because I could have did anything, and my mom would still be there for me. When you lose your mom, and just speaking for myself, when I lost my mom, it was difficult because I had no one in this world that no matter what I do, they're going to be there for my in my corner. I could have did anything, and my mom would have still showed up and say, "That's my son."
Right.
So you made me feel safe, where I had someone I could lean on, if that makes sense. What do you think about that?
I think that's good. To have a spouse that you can lean on and somebody that you can come to and communicate and not be scared to communicate, but tell your partner, what's going on with you and,
One of the things that I did that could help someone, because again, even when I met Tia, I was in college, I was starting to really work on self development. I joined Toastmasters International, which helped me become a better communicator. It also helped me to listen because part of communication is just listening to the other person. So, someone who's struggling with communication, that would be a start because part of this living your dream is you have to participate in it. If we're on a life saving mission, you have to participate. One of the things about Toastmasters, what it allowed, it gave you an audience. And what I would do, because I was in such bad shape, I would go to different Toastmaster groups to get a different audience and practice my skill of being an effective communicator,
Right.
listening. Also, because some of the things you had to critique other people. So Toastmasters International is definitely a good place to start if you want to work on communication because part of it is listening. I think our relationship definitely went to the next level when I started to listen more because sometimes I just want to give my ideas or whatever it may be. But when I started to listen and say, okay, that I think you're right. I think it really helped out. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think listening and being supportive are very important in a relationship, and intimacy is important too.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure that you put that intimacy in there also. I know women, sometimes you're tired or you're working or you're taking care of your kids, but you have to make sure that that intimacy is there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that goes back to making sure that safe place is there. I think we'll go there. When you say the safe, that goes back to the safe spot. I think, as in speaking only for myself, I think men want somewhere they're safe. We come with this macho thing, and we want to appear to be um, confident or whatever it may be. But when that insecurity hit you, you want somewhere to go, and you want somewhere where you feel safe, where you don't have to fight. you know, if you're working all day, you're out there and you're fighting all day. You don't want to come home and fight too, right? You want to have a safe spot. So I think, for a man's perspective, I would think to maintain a healthy relationship or marriage, you would have to be able to have someone that you could come home and feel safe with, that you could be vulnerable with, that you can share with, and not be judged or whatever it may be, and you can communicate. Someone that's listening to you also, because one of the things that you do very effectively, you allow me to talk, where I don't get a lot of the yah 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 yah. It's we talk, we communicate, we go for walks, and at that time, because you love to talk, so that's one of the things where I think to maintain a healthy relationship, you have to be able to communicate and have a safe spot to communicate with. What do you think is some of the things that destroys relationships? What do you think?
Well, things that destroy relationships could be not communicating, maybe temptation, you know,
Mm-hmm.
with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes not agreeing on raising children.
That's a
Sometimes
good one.
could destroy the relationship.
Now, talking about children, do I know we have 4 children, and it has not been easy. Uh, with that, what do you mean when you say not agreeing on raising children? What do you mean by
Well, depends on how you grew up, how I grew up.
that? Right.
You
Good point.
grew up, in a different environment. I grew up in a different environment. So you watch your parents, I watch my parents. So if we trying to discipline our kids, we may, disagree.
That's
So
good.
and sometimes when you disagree, you get to arguing about the situation.
That's good. I like that. And you don't think about that. You don't even think about how I grew up different from you, and we have to bring our two
Together.
backgrounds together.
And then you got to see sometimes children can put parents against each other.
That's good. And I think that's where the communication comes in, where you have to be able to communicate to ensure that doesn't
You
happen.
got to be on the same page.
So that's amazing. So when you talk about how to maintain a healthy marriage. And again, we're almost at 28 years, which I can't believe because it's still like we were sitting on that bench at the Department of Agriculture
Mm-hmm.
dreaming, and now our dreams have come true. When you look at that and you say, okay, our dreams have come true, when some of the hard times was there, what makes you not walk away from it?
Well, first of all, I love you,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm happy to be with you. Even when the hard times comes, trials and tribulations come, I'm still, committed.
Mm.
When I got married, I was committed.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. I think you and I are committed, and I think because you and I have disagreements, I think most people. I'm not in other people's marriage or other people's relationship, but I know you and I disagree. But I think you and I are both committed, where we say no matter what, at the end of the day, we're still going to be together.
Right.
And I think that's the key.
And every relationship is worth, keeping, or at least try, And when things get bad, find the good in your spouse. Find the good.
Yeah, I like that because there's always some good there, right? And again, things can get horribly wrong where I mean it's just no way. But I always think the communication piece should come before it even gets that bad, right?
If they gain weight, help them.
Let's
go for a walk.
Right.
Let's go to the gym.
Yeah.
Don't just criticize them and make them feel bad and oh, you're getting too big and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's awful because again, I think all of us when we get vulnerable and say, "Hey, yeah, I have some insecurities," I would feel awful if you would say things like that to me. So again, you do a great job where you don't do a lot of criticizing, where you don't do a lot of things that are hurtful, and I appreciate that because again, I think that helps the relationship.
But at the same time, you want to be truthful to your spouse. So if they are gaining a little weight, you can say it in a way that it won't hurt their feelings.
Yeah,
try to
motivate
them, but don't say it
That's
where they'll, get their feelings hurt.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's a way to do that. And again, for me, you have to understand. I grew up where my vocabulary was up. It was pretty much that was my whole vocabulary. Again, I had to do a lot of work to become an effective communicator. I still have a lot of work to do, but again, Toastmasters International is definitely a way where it will help you with your communication skills, where you can learn how to listen, where you can learn how to feel confident having a conversation.
Right.
Because sometimes, it's not that I was trying to be quiet. I just didn't have the skill set to communicate with people. So pretty much I would just be there. But now I'm able to communicate, whether I go back and say, hey, what's up to somebody, or to be able to have a conversation that's long going and it's in a different setting. And you want to be able to communicate in different settings. But definitely in your relationship, you have to communicate. Whether it's what's up or whether it's having a nice dialogue, you have to communicate. I think for a healthy marriage, you have to communicate. That's like a necessity. Without communication, you will not be able to have an effective
and
relationship.
Also try not to argue around your children.
Mm-hmm.
Take it somewhere where they do not hear it. Maybe take a ride in a car or do something where your children is not witnessing that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's one of the things where they shouldn't experience that. Because again, one of the things is that now when they get into a relationship, they're going to take that into their relationship because they're going to think that's what normal is. Luckily for me, I was able to witness your parents' relationship. My mom, I don't know how she did it. She was a single parent. She got divorced from my father, who I didn't know.
Right.
Then she got married again, and that one too ended horribly. And again, I wish I could go back and just talk to my mother and say, how did you do it? And I don't know how she did it. That's strength beyond strength. And again, that's why I say losing her was hard for me because I saw someone who was just unbelievably strong and able to endure so much. And that was just, mind blowing. So again, a relationship to me is I need to be in a relationship because again, you need that safe place, man. You have to have it.
And also, my parents were married 49 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And my mother loved my father unconditionally.
Unconditionally.
Unconditional, whatever
Right.
he did, she loved him.
Mm-hmm.
She never judged him.
Mm-hmm.
And they died 8 months apart.
Right.
So they're no longer here either.
That's love.
So I say to you all you got is your family.
That's it.
Your husband, your wife, your children, that's all you got. Life is not promised, and you have to love each other. And if you have a husband and you all a wife and you having issues or problems and they're not abusing you or calling you names or anything like that, try to work it out. Find the good in that person. Try to date them again. Go on dates. Go out. Go walking. Go to the gym. Whatever you need to do to try to save the relationship, because the grass is not greener on the other side.
That's what I think is one of the things that helped us over the years. It made these 28 years, 27, about to be 28, go so fast. We go out a lot. And I think that's what help us is that we, spend time together. We go out. It's always fresh.
Right.
Right? Whether it's going to a different restaurant or whatever it may be, I think it's always fresh. And I think that's what helps our relationship, because you're always looking forward to something. I think because life is about, you want to have something to look forward to. You want to have something to wake you up in the morning. And I think that's what helped us over the years, because it has been, like I said, those 27 years, we had some hard times. I mean, some really hard times where it was almost traumatizing. and again, we're still here, and we look at each other a lot and say, "Wow, we made it!"
Right.
And I know I'm shocked, because I'm sitting on that bench. I'm a different person of that young man sitting on a bench dreaming. I mean, just dreaming. And I'm a different person now.
But you always had an old soul and always, wanted a family. You knew what you wanted at that time.
That's it.
We were 20 years old, and a lot of people at 20 don't know what they want.
That's good.
But you knew exactly what you wanted. I knew exactly what I wanted.
That's good. Yeah, I think you're right. You have to know what you want. You have to have a why behind it. I think for me, family was just the cornerstone of my life. It's like I always wanted to have a family.
And me too. I always wanted children. My parents knew, okay, I know you're going to be the one to have kids.
They told me that too.
Right. So I always, dreamed of, having children and getting married and, getting a home and,
Yeah, that's the idea I had. I was going to say, luckily I had your parents who modeled a relationship in front of me. And Tom was so transparent, where he showed me the good, the bad, the ugly, and he showed me also every night he comes home. And I think that's the key, where I was able to see a relationship, and I was able to see a true relationship. It wasn't like he just showed me the good. Tom showed me everything. And that's why I respected Tom so much, because he showed me life.
Right.
And he showed me that I could live an enjoyable life. And I respect him for that. And again, I loved your mother with all my heart. And I don't think me and her ever had a bad word with each other. Never. I mean, not once. I can't remember once that we ever had a bad word. It was always love. We never had a bad word to say to each other. I mean, never. And although that may seem that's normal, that's not always normal. And for us, it was always love. And that's what I liked about that. And again, I love seeing that relationship. And again, they had a similar story where they came from humble beginnings. And I mean, they lived an amazing life. And to see that, I wanted that. So again, from my grandfather having, I don't want to say take care of my grandmother, but you have to understand where I'm coming from with that. He was the man of the house.
Right.
And again, he really showed a great example of how to provide for your family. Because, I mean, this man worked. So really good example. And then your parents also had a great example also. So that was good for me. So, in conclusion, hopefully we helped someone and we gave you some good information to help. In conclusion, I mean, what else did you want to wrap up with here?
So, in conclusion, if you are in a marriage, I say try to save it.
Absolutely.
And if you have a good man, a good woman, try to save it and spend time with each other. Life is not promised to none of us.
Yeah, tomorrow's not promised.
Right, tomorrow's not promised. So I say take care of each other, love each other, find the good in your spouse and your children, and enjoy life. And,
Absolutely. And again, if you like what you heard today, you should support that what supports you. Like, subscribe, and share. Okay? Like, subscribe, and share. And again, I'll see you, and yes, I do mean you, living your dreams. Peace.